This is my story.
This is our story.
This is their story.
Currently, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States.
I think that mental health is definitely still stigmatized, and I think people believe that they need to be having a crisis in order for therapy to be beneficial, but really everyone could use therapy. And I think if everyone did seek out mental health resources before it got to a crisis, then we wouldn't see as many crises like suicides. And I also believe that people often, once someone has killed themselves, like Robin Williams, they will talk about what a hero that person was, talk about how important mental health is, but then other people who exhibit signs of mental health issues before, like while they're still alive, get stigmatized. Like Amanda Bynes, for example, everyone called her crazy, but she was like clearly going through it, and instead of supporting her, people made fun of her. So it kind of, I think there's a lot of hypocrisy around it.
Sadly, I think there's an epidemic of depression in this country. I think more and more teenagers are having symptoms of depression and feeling depressed and anxious. And I don't know exactly why. I have some theories, but yes, counselors see students with depression and also with suicidal ideation sometimes as well.
I mean, honestly, I'd have a harder time naming friends who are depressed. Like, everyone is depressed nowadays. And I've had a friend commit suicide and several other friends who have attempted as well.
One of the biggest things is if you feel so depressed and so upset that you want to hurt yourself, to definitely tell someone, especially if you're a student, you want to tell a teacher, you want to tell a counselor, so we can get the help that you need. And same thing with adults. We want to make sure that everyone is safe. So if someone's experiencing a really hard time, we want to make sure that person sees a counselor, maybe sees a psychiatrist, depending on what is going on, and gets the help they need, because it's, it's just like other physical illnesses. Mental illness is very real.
I would say reaching out is the most important thing that you can do, but oftentimes when you're in that dark mindset, reaching out is the last thing that you want to do. So I would say when you're in a space where you're not in crisis mode, you should formulate like an emergency plan for what you can do or what others can do for you if you get into a situation where you're like, I'm going to kill myself. I'm formulating a plan. I'm going to act it out so that other people can stop you before you actually go through with it. If you have no communication beforehand, then it's going to take people off guard, the people that you love and your whole support system. So communicating to a therapist, communicating to your friends and your family, whoever it is that is trusted, and a loved one, so that way they can recognize the signs and then intervene if they feel like it's necessary.
Reach out, get some help before it could get potentially worse in a variety of ways. So you could talk to your parents, guidance counselor, teacher, anyone that can kind of lead to some assistance or relief for you. Friend, maybe doctor.
Depression affects nearly 5 to 8% of Americans ages 18 and over in a given year.
My opinion on suicide and depression is that it should really get a lot more attention in schools, because so many kids go through things at home or in their personal lives, and nobody really acknowledges it because they feel so self-consumed. And yeah.
I agree with Kaylin. I believe that suicide and depression should be something that's more talked about, especially within the school setting. I feel like students should feel more comfortable talking with their counselors if they have problems going on at home.
Yes, I have friends that suffer from depression, because most teenagers deal with depression, so hormones and stuff like that, whatever. But so yeah, most of my friends deal with depression, and I try my best to help them cope with it and stuff like that, and they help me in return. So yeah.
Okay, well, I have friends that have been through a lot of depression type situations and almost like self-harm or like committed suicide. And I think the best thing that I did in that situation was like help them and get an adult's help. I have like a lot of role models. Like my band director is like a big role model for me at the school, and I know I can go to him and talk to him about anything. So if I tell him about another student or another situation that's going on, they can help them in a way that I can't. But so supporting them as they're having these issues, like that's the best thing that I did to help them.
And I know that a lot of people, like your peers or even teachers maybe, might be going through struggles that you don't know about. So I feel like it's important to check up on those that you are close with every once in a while and make sure that things are okay with them, and just make sure that their mental health is in good standings.
I would tell them it's okay and tell like a teacher or their parents or something so they can get help.
That it's okay to share what you're feeling with those around you. So if you have a friend that you're close with, or a parent, a family member, or even like your counselor at school, if you are going through a hard time and you feel like you don't have anyone to talk to, make sure that you express those feelings and don't keep them bottled in, because that's what can cause even more pain.
And even if you aren't really comfortable with sharing feelings, maybe you don't have that close friend, maybe you don't feel comfortable talking to your parent, a counselor, whoever, find a good outlet for that, whether it's something that you enjoy, like writing, listening to music, or whatever it may be. Find an outlet for your emotions, because that'll help release at least some of it and help you get through it day by day.
My name is Keily. When I was about 12 years old, I want to say, my parents were going through a rough time, and I didn't know what to do, and I kind of felt like it was all my fault, and I blamed myself for a really, really long time. And I went to see therapists, I went to see the doctor. I tried everything, but I just felt an emptiness inside of me, and I wanted to cry every day. It was something I could never describe, a feeling of just sadness and loneliness, so much more than that. And no one believed me. Like, my parents didn't believe me, my brother didn't believe me. They all just called me crazy, and I was so alone. And in the midst of all that going on, my brother moved out, and I think that was really hard. And then I had a family member die, and I think that's when I really hit rock bottom. And I just told myself I couldn't do it anymore, and I cried every day. When I got home from school, I shut my door and I sobbed, and I was like, why me? Why me? And like, it was hard, you know? And there was a point where after I tried doing that, that I was just like, it's not my fault. And like, I hate saying this, but I just felt like God was there, because I wouldn't be there if it wasn't for him. And I like, something in me just clicked. I was like, Kaylee, you need to stop. But it wasn't that easy to start feeling okay. Like, I went through so much, and I went through group therapy, and I went through normal therapy, and then I went to a hospital where they held me for a couple of days, because that's how much help I needed. And even though I knew God was there, I needed someone or something to be there and who understood me. And I think with suicide and depression, a lot of people need someone who understands them, and it's not easy to find someone like that. And if somebody is ever going through that, they just have to find other people who can relate, because they aren't alone and they will never be alone, because this is a really big issue. So I think that everything does happen for a reason, and to this day I have anxiety, and I remember everything I went through, and it really hurts. So I feel like if anybody's going through that, it's not easy to get over, and I still cry a lot sometimes when things get rough. And it's gonna be a hard thing to overcome if somebody's ever going through it. But the best help somebody can get is having someone there and not being alone, because the more you isolate yourself, the worse it's gonna get. That's what happened. This is my story.